Hello, I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, 2049 Outfitters.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 6 a.m. on Saturday in Germany. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California.
Tonight's guest is Peter Thorp. We'll be back in 8.3 seconds. And his
at first, so let's just say hi to Cliff. Thanks for joining us. We're glad you're back. We missed you last week.
Yep. Okay, Peter Thorp painted book covers for years in New York City, including many bestsellers. When we lost the Space Shuttle Challenger, Peter called the National Space Society, NSS for short, and asked what he could do to help keep space exploration alive.
Very cool.
That request led to a position as creative director for the Space Frontier Foundation. Plus, he did a lot of work for O'Neill's Space Studies Institute and other space companies.
Yeah, you want to get the comment? Scott's here. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Hi.
Hi, Scott.
Yes, we're very excited.
Oh, and Dawn's here too.
Oh, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Yep. All right, we actually did a profile on Gerard K 3 weeks ago. Peter did the first logo for the X Prize, and everything you've done is so amazing. Thank you for being our guest tonight, Peter. Please tell us about your adventures. I'm going to show the rocket pictures real quick.
But first.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Janie.
Hi, Janie. Yes, he is very. So there's a picture of a bunch of the rocket images, if you're not familiar with them already. And go ahead, Peter. Take it away.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. You guys rock.
Thank you.
I grew up in New Orleans, and when I was a kid, the Times-Picayune, which was the New Orleans newspaper, ran photos from the Ranger 4 spacecraft that was in 1962 heading towards the moon. And I saw these in the Times-Picayune. They printed them, and at 4 years old with a pencil, I circled the moon. My mother saved these, but I remember being fascinated with the moon when I was a kid. I'd go outside, I loved the moon. So I knew what I wanted as a very young person.
Nice.
Yeah. So, New Orleans was great. I got into science fiction early, and my folks got me this set of books, the Children's Hour. And this right here is the last in the series. It's science fiction readers got, the science fiction volume of the whole, encyclopedia thing of Children's Hour. And
wow, I don't think I've heard of that before. Have you?
Yeah, it's one of these things that from the 60s. Anyway, in it is a Robert Heinlein story called Black Pits of Luna. I read that as I must have been 7 or 8 years old, and I said, I like this. It was about the moon. So I have this moon thing. Anyway, so I love science fiction, and as a teen, Mardi Gras was big to me, and I knew one of the Mardi Gras artists through a friend, Danny Frolic, and I told him I love space, and he goes, well, I'm going to be part of my cat. I'm going to be part of a Volcon 1 conference, a Star Trek conference here in New Orleans.
What was it called?
Volcon, Vol, as in Vulcan. Volcon.
Oh, got it. Yes. Okay.
And so I said, sure, I'll volunteer. So I was part of it. And the next one, 73, 74, it was in a big hotel in downtown New Orleans. And I ran the projector like an AV nerd, and it was great. And one of the best things about it was the second one, Nichelle Nichols, or her, was there. And because I was part of the staff, they had us come up to her room in the hotel, and she sang for us.
Wow.
That was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, anyway, I've never heard her sing live. Have you?
No.
Wow.
She does sing in one of the episodes, and she had an operatic. Right. She has an operatic style. I don't know what she sang then, but it was kind of classical or something. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, we got a comment. Maybe it's a question for you. Hold on.
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah, I never heard of that before.
Yeah.
There was only a few of them, and they were early in the 70s. It was like one of the first Star Trek conventions. Volcon 1, 2, and I think there was a 3. Some of the people I met there, George Powell was there to promote Doc Savage. I met David Gerald, who wrote The Trouble with Tribbles. And I was a nutty, pimple-faced nerd kid running the projector, and I loved it. I just, I ate it up.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. So, I was an everyday spacer then, wasn't I?
Yep.
And I just
Clearly.
wanted to have fun with it. But I went on to college and in California in the Bay Area. And because I found it easy to draw and I was very much into artwork, I decided I wanted to be an artist. So I was able to go to this great college. Now, it was an artsy college, and one of my teachers was a famous beat poet by the name of Michael McClure. And he was right there with Jack Kerouac and all those. And he was like a humanities class. He wasn't art, but he had a theater appreciation class. Not theater, appreciation, you understand? Go to a play and like it. That was basically
right.
And he's a playwright.
I took Jad's appreciation. I get it. Yeah, we do have another comment. You got a minute?
Yes,
right place, right time for sure. I think she's talking about Volcon.
Yeah, I'm talking about the conventions. Yeah,
I agree. So anyway, this guy, Michael McClure, I told him I like space. Well, it happens that his daughter, Julie, was dating Rusty Schweickart, Apollo 9.
Oh,
And
wow.
at this point, it's 1978, 1979, and Rusty is Jerry Brown's advisor on tech and science.
Oh, no kidding.
So he's in California, and my teacher's daughter's dating him. So my teacher loves space too, because he's been talking to this guy. So he goes, you know what you got to do? You got to check out this guy, Gerard K. O'Neill. I'm like, okay. And he also gave me some information on NSS, and you want to get in touch with National Space Society. So I wrote these down in my notebook, and I forgot about it. All right, so I had that. So after graduating from school, I went to New York City and started as an illustrator. And I started early on working for book covers because I can work with type and image, which is sort of unusual. It was unusual at the time. Usually a book company would give the design job to one person and the illustration or photo job to another person.
You can see the books at this site, right?
That's right. So since I was able to work with both, I had a really easy early in, and I got to do a bunch of stuff. But before I really hit it big, I heard from a guy back in California who I knew, who was an art director there, who said he needed a play. He was moving to New York City because he got the job to be art director of National Lampoon. I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. He goes, yeah, I need a place to stay for 3 weeks. Well, he stayed for 3.5 years. And Michael Grossman, great fellow. And so I started doing illustrations for them. I think you may have one thing that I did, a double page spread.
This thing?
Yeah, that's it. And that was for Lampoon. I also posed for them in some of their photos, I mean, well, yeah. That's Lynn Ann Castle. She's done some interesting stuff. She was in Meet the Fockers, and she has a great scene with Ben Stiller. She's the stewardess that won't let him on the plane.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but it's queued up in Netflix.
So anyway, but it was all up and up, guys. This was professional stuff, National Lampoon. So then I started getting a lot of work from publishers, and I did a few bestsellers. You have maybe some book covers there that I did, like Lake Wobegon Days, Frederick Forsyth. Yep. These were both #1 bestsellers. Those are for Viking Penguin. And, I just got lucky. I got into this world. And this is what I'd like to say to people who want to do something, anything. Go to the source. Go to the place where you want to do it. If you want to be an actor, go to Hollywood. If you want to be, In advertising, go to Chicago or New York. If you want to be in publishing, go to New York. And I guess the same thing would be for space. I mean, everybody says everything could be done remote now. No. You want to be in space, go to Texas, go to SpaceX, go to Blue Origin, go to the places where these things are happening. And the reason why I say that is because you don't just work with these people, you hang out with them. If you're there, you get invited to a party, you meet somebody, you start to date somebody in the industry maybe, or whatever, or you're partying with them, you're making friends. And that's so much more than doing remote work.
Yep.
Well, I was lucky to go to the source of publishing at the time, and I made all the difference. And I made all these great friends. And then I had the guy from National Lampoon as my roommate. I mean, geez, that's how things open up. So anybody that's thinking about working in whatever you want to work in, go to the source.
Oh, I love that advice. There's a lot of space stuff here in Southern California, so
right.
It's kind of cool to be here. I mean, I can actually go to JPL and see what's in the clean room by signing up for a tour and driving an hour over there.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Well, and you used to work for Boeing on the Delta 2 and 3 rockets.
Yes, right. So anyway, we had another picture in there there's a book cover and the belly button thing. Did you want to show those two?
Sure. I'll explain what they are. So this is another posing thing I did. This was for King Features. And again, because I was there, I got these sort of jobs. I wasn't looking to model anything. I just had an art director friend say, hey, you want to work on something? You can use you. And they loved me because I wasn't union, so they paid me like $50 and they paid the model $500.
Okay. That seems a little bit disparate.
Well, it's because they were just friends and they said, I would have done it for free. Sure.
Got it. Yeah, my friend Donald has been talking about this book a lot. Like he's called me the past few days a couple times and he's like, oh, you got to ask about the Tony Hillerman book.
So that was a huge breakthrough for me. At Harper and Row in 1986, I was in the art director's office. Again, being there is important. And I had just turned in a job. And I said, what's up, Joe? What's going on now? He goes, well, we just got this manuscript about this guy that writes about the Navajos, its mysteries. And I said, well, you know what? I'm 1/8 Cherokee, which I am. He goes, oh, yeah? You do it. Well, that's how I got that job. And I ended up doing 20 years of Tony Hillerman covers, the huge bestsellers. I mean, on and on and on. Oh, my God. Made me so much money. Thank you.
So I didn't know there was how many books are there? And I take it as a series.
He wrote 18 first editions. His daughter is carrying it on. It's right now on GMC. Dark Winds is a series and it's very popular. His books are being made there. But before that, Robert Redford made a few movies of his stuff.
Oh wow!
So it's basically Navajos on a reservation, Navajo tribal police solving mysteries because there's a murder. The feds come in. The feds don't know what the hell's going on. The Navajos know what people are thinking. And what I did was I said, I got the manuscript. The first one was Skinwalkers, which I did. And I went to the New York Public Library, which was a great place to get reference material before the internet. And they had a picture collection. I went there and I said Navajos, and they gave me all these files. And I kept coming across these sand paintings. I'm like, oh, damn, these are really good. How can I use this? And so I worked that as a design element in and then added. So that's partially sand painting. That's actually a Hopi Kachina in the middle there. Mm-hmm. But the background, that shape is a Navajo shape for cloud. And so, I'm working in the Native American elements. And here comes my cat again. Chance, what are you doing? Oh, God. Yeah. Get up there.
Welcome to the show, Chance. He's so cute.
So anyway.
So when you said the cloud was at that kind of dome shape behind.
That's
Okay.
that's a Navajo sand painting graphic, and these graphics, these and even the Anasazi, the Kokopelli graphics, the way they the Hopi, the every all of them in there were fabulous to me as a designer slash artist. I was like, yes, and it just worked. So we ended up doing years of bestsellers. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
we got the one more here. You sent this one, a canticle for Lebowitz.
yeah, that's one of the few. Now you think that how much I love space and all that I do science fiction, but I don't really have a style that's real slick. And since the 80s when I was there and on, it's all been very slick. I love the 70s and 60s when you got a paperback science fiction book and it was all sloppy painting, you know, and it was like energetic and artists, and you saw the hand of the artist. That really turned me on. I have nothing against type painting. I think Boris Vallejo is fabulous, Michael Whalen, fabulous. But
I
I do.
really like the Russian graphics from their
Oh
space program.
yes, exactly.
So amazing.
Yeah, and very graphic. Yeah, again, to me, that's pretty important for me anyway. So I only did a few science fiction, and Canticle for Leibowitz, of course, that's a reprint because it came out in the 50s, but it was a Hugo winner. So
Oh wow, is that science fiction? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Jeff read it, but I'm not familiar with it.
yeah,
A
It's
long
nice.
time ago, it was basically post-nuclear war, if I recall.
yeah,
Oh,
right.
okay. All right. So how does that work? You get the manuscript and then you kind of come up with the visuals.
Well, I've worked for lots of different publishers, and sometimes the art director knows exactly what he wants. He says, I want this, this, and this, and you just do that. Most of the time, they don't know what they want. They give you the manuscript, you sit there and you read it, you go and they say, give us a couple sketches, and you just try and come up with stuff, and then you go back and forth, and then you get there, you know. So that's the thing.
Got it.
It can vary. Also with the Hillermans, they started promoting this stuff so early, each new book, that he didn't have the manuscript finished yet. So they would
wow.
yeah, so I wouldn't have much anything like a little synopsis. So they say, call him up and talk to him. And they said that on the third book or whatever. So I call him up. Hi, Mr. Hillerman, I'm your faithful illustrator. You know, and he loved it. We ended up having great conversations over the years. He was actually very cool to talk to, and then I met him in Manhattan. So you know, it was really interesting. But you know, each time I'd say, so what do you think I should do this time? And he'd go, I don't know, you tell me.
Well, it sounds like since they were promoting it before the book was written, maybe you were helping them write the book.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm helping them promote it anyway. Yeah, that's the thing. And a couple of times they, you know, like they changed their mind early on, and I had to change the illustration or the title or whatever. That happened.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Does that come? Like, they pay you extra for all that? I hope.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah. You know,
Okay.
as an illustrator, you don't get royalties, which I would love to have had. You get usage. So if you do a big book, you get paid for the hardcover, and then if it goes paperback, you get the paperback, and then books on tape or books on CD, foreign edition, large print edition. Each time they do a new usage, you get a bit, and that's the way that business works.
How about do they ever use them in something like a Netflix show or?
Every now and then that sort of happens.
Interesting.
You know, and I'll get asked for permission, and there's it's the Hillermans are still making me money. I mean, a little bit these days, but I mean, I did those 35 years ago.
Well, if you're not getting royalties, how does that?
Because they do new usages. It's per usage. Just recently, Harper Collins released all of those in trade paperback. Trade paperback are the larger size, and they paid me quite well for using those images on the new. So that's the way it's, you know, that's the industry. That's how it works.
I do like the work once get paid over and over again idea.
Yeah, so do I. It's different from advertising. Advertising, you get a flat fee, and then they own it completely, but it's a huge fee. I mean, you'll get 15, 20 grand for something, and that's it. They own it, and that's. But with publishing, you'll get a 5 grand for this, 2 grand here, 3 grand there, and it can add up to as much as advertising. But I always wanted to do editorial. Advertising is dancing tomatoes.
Dancing tomatoes? Oh, okay.
You know,
so not that interesting.
I want to do soap. I want to do literature. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that you told me when we spoke in advance was that these were a very different experience painting them than doing your rocket paintings. And delve into that a little bit for everyone. I thought that was kind of fascinating.
Well, early on, yeah, that's right. The book covers and the heavy duty commercial work, you have to have a certain amount of slickness. Again, I wish I could have done stuff like the 70s, like Richard Powers, Paul Sherry, those guys that got real artsy. But no, I did tight stuff, and I did airbrush stuff, and I did things that were very tight, and it was okay. It was great. It's wonderful now to do the rockets because they're loose and fun, and that other stuff was tight and but it made good money. So.
I think one of the words you used was it was kind of tedious. It was
yes, labor intensive.
Whereas the rocket paintings and I don't know that everybody really knows how that came about.
All right, so
I've only seen the rockets. I haven't even seen the stuff you described as the really early stuff.
Well, what happened was I was happily doing book covers, and then in 1986, in January, the Challenger explosion, and that really hit me. Because I love space still and everything, and I had to do something. And I didn't know what to do. So I looked at my old notebooks. Michael McClure, my teacher, who had told me about Gerard K and NSS. I looked at that and I said, okay, NSS. So I looked up in Washington. I got the phone number. I called them up and I said, what can I do? And they said, well, you should join one of the organizations and help out. Where are you? I'm in New York City. Oh, you want to meet the L5 Society in New York. They hold their meetings on the aircraft carrier Intrepid. I was like, aircraft carrier? Are you serious?
No kidding. They held their meetings on the carrier.
Yes, in the hangar deck, yeah. And so I went there, and that was, I guess, February of 86. And the guy organizing it was Rick Tumlinson.
Yep.
And that's when I first met him. And so we're sitting there in a ready room, which is where he was having the conversation. And he was telling everybody, okay, so look, it's just $5 to join. I said, not enough. He goes, I like that guy. And and so afterwards I went and talked to him and I said, look, I don't know what I can do, but I'm a commercial artist and I've done best-selling book covers. Obviously, I could do something for it. He's like, let's talk. And we went out to dinner, and that's it. And I'm still doing stuff for him to this day. But it was the space.
I never saw this logo before, so that was fascinating.
So he switched to the Space Frontier Foundation only a year or so after that, and he started it up with Jim Muncie and Bob Ward, and
right.
They pretty much wanted to push entrepreneurial space from the beginning, and that's cool. So, but I just became their graphic guy, and then I did a bit of illustration for him. But also, he had a bunch of other connections, and one of his connections was Space Studies Institute, and that's Gerard K. O'Neill's. And he mentions that to me. I know that name. Why do I know that name? And he ended up getting me in there, and I met Jerry, and I did work for them as well. So those were my two early guys,
And so this is that their original logo?
Yep, I did that in '88.
And when did this one
This was for a kid's situation, and it was not used very much, but I like it a lot anyway, so that's why I sent it to you.
It's got the Peter Thorp rocket in the middle of it.
I know exactly.
I've seen that before, but I didn't connect that with rocket paintings, even though I knew about the rocket paintings before. That's fascinating.
So I just loved it, and also he knew other people, like he knew Peter Diamandis, who started the X Prize. So I ended up doing the first X Prize logo. That's the first one. They used it for a while before they went to a big ad agency and had a major thing done. I did that for maybe a couple $100 for Peter. That was another thing. Early on, I did stuff for Rick for dirt cheap because I said, just give me space stuff to work on. I'll do it for you cheap. Because I was getting a lot of money from the publishers. So I just, so I said, look, give me space, I'll do it cheap. And I'm still doing it cheap for Rick. Yeah, I try to raise my prices with him. He's like, no.
All right. So tell him to check with somebody else and he'll come back to you and it'll be more than you were. So, you mentioned O'Neill. Now, did you do this whole cover for the book?
I did the design. I did not do the illustration, which is by Dave Brody of Space.com, although I don't think he was working for Space.com at the time. And the photos and the other artwork is from other sources. And so
I know Don Davis did one of the pieces early on because, like I said, we did an episode about we do some profiles as well as having guests. And we talked about Don Davis a lot because he did
first edition. He did the first edition.
Right. And that's not what this book is, right?
That's the third. That's the third edition there.
Okay,
and that's the cover that I have.
Oh, okay.
It's the same book, but it's just the third edition. But
Right,
Don, who's an incredible artist, he did all the interiors as well. All this black and white interior is him. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a whole page of all kinds of his art. It's fabulous.
Yeah. So, it was just great doing all this stuff. And I ended up doing lots of logos for different ProSpace. I did the ProSpace logo. We don't have that. But I just kept doing it. And the Space Frontier Foundation grew and grew. And I just ended up doing, well, I can show you the some of their newsletters. I designed the newsletters and everything inside and everything. And I did conference covers and designed all the interior and everything. So I was just happy, just working on space stuff. It was just so cool, And,
very definitely.
Yeah.
And you said this was an older painting, but you got it into a recent.
That's right. That's an Astronomy magazine 2 summers ago. But that was done for Gerard K. O'Neill. That was an SSI illustration for one of their things. Yeah.
Got it. I've been to the site, but I don't remember seeing that painting on the site. They have some of the other ones.
Yeah, it goes way back. It was an honor to work for him. He was very, very cool. Very nice.
Yeah. There's a really good documentary about him on it's Curiosity Stream, right?
Yeah, Curiosity.
And that's kind of what got us rolling into the profile episode about him.
Yeah.
So
we
always learn so much when we talk to guests as well as when we do a profile, which means we have to do the research and figure out, I know this guy, but I don't know much about him. And we've actually done a lot of really, really interesting people that I don't think too many people know about. So yeah, that's been really fun.
Wow. Very cool. So when early on in the foundation work, this is talking about my paintings now. Okay, I'm gonna have to show you here. Hold on. When I do a painting, this is my palette.
Got it.
That's it. Okay. It's a wet palette, so the paint stays for a while, but eventually it goes bad. You got to do something with it or you got to throw it away. So I thought after a while, I was like, why am I throwing this stuff away? And Rick Tumlinson was over by my place. He lived in New York there, so we saw each other a lot. And
Yeah.
he's like, well, do something with it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to paint backgrounds with it. All right. So, and then put them away, but I don't know what to do with them. He goes, put a planet on it, put the Earth on it. And then we eventually came up with the idea of rockets. So that's how it started, was to use paint that would have otherwise gotten thrown away. And
Love that idea.
And they were just throwaways. In the beginning, they weren't throwaways, but they were just like no big deal. But eventually at his conferences, he's like, well, you got a bunch of rockets, bring them and see if anybody likes them. Well, people started buying them, And
Nice.
yeah, and so it just sort of grew and grew and grew slowly over time. And so that's how that happened. And I got to say, it's very gratifying because there ain't no art director. It's just me. I do a rocket any way I want. And that's it.
And
they're amazing. Look at these.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
They remind me a lot of the 1970s covers,
Oh.
science fiction covers.
Again,
There you go.
that's the stuff that influenced me as a kid. And that was the stuff that I loved.
Yeah, and I totally like the idea of the using it up, because if you're actually on a rocket, you can't let anything go to waste. In fact, I used to live, before it became green, I used to live thinking of, spaceships, thinking if we had to live on a spaceship, would we throw this away? No, we would do something with it. So, yeah, we got a comment.
Absolutely.
Janie,
Yes.
love recycle, repurpose projects. Beautiful. Your talent flows so nicely.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Janie. I wish I had recycled earlier, because I went through, almost 10 years of book covers before I got to the idea I should do something about this. So yeah.
So there's no way to put them in plastic, and one of the things that I remember reading, or you said, or something, that was the next book cover or illustration or whatever had a totally different palette, so it wasn't really.
That's right. That's right. So what are you going to do with the old stuff? And it goes bad after a while anyway. So although the acrylics now are a little bit better than they were back in the 80s and 90s, they used to smell like rotten eggs after 4 weeks.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So it was like, okay.
Yeah. What about oils? Do they last a little longer? Because I know there's some
Oh,
paintings
yes.
that
Oils, of course. I don't work in oils. As a kid, I experimented with oils, but as soon as I got to art school and said I wanted to be an illustrator, they said, acrylic. You want to use acrylic. It dries fast. That's what the publishers want. That's it. So that's what I did. Oils are beautiful. I love oils, but no. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some original Van Goghs in museums, and it's amazing, because you think when you see a painting, it seems like it's kind of flat, but when you see, a print or online or something, it seems kind of flat, but when you see a painting of that nature live, it's like it's almost sculpted on the canvas. It's very different.
He was heavy in the palette knife and using thick oil, and I love Van Gogh. He is, to me, fabulous. In fact, when I was a kid, I loved Da Vinci and Van Gogh, and I was so young that I didn't see any difference between them. To me, Da Vinci and Van Gogh were the same. Well, they were different people, but their art was the same coolness level for me. And now I see it as pretty different. I understand their stories, but as a kid, it was the same.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do have one more image that you sent me. Why don't I want to show it, and you tell us what this is about?
So this is brand new.
It's brand new.
Relatively new, like 6 months ago. That's for me.
Oh, wow.
That's brand new. And it's for the Exploration Institute, and it's for something that they're working on. I can't go into too much more than that, but I love it. It's my favorite recent painting. I do have some other recent paintings, but these are the.
I don't think I've heard of the. What do you call it? The Exploration Institute.
Exploration Institute. It's Armin Ellis worked on the. He's an astrophysicist, and he worked on Curiosity rover for NASA, and he after that he started his own thing called the Exploration Institute. Really interesting. He works on a lot of space stuff. I don't want to say what that's for because it's not published.
No, I get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to look into that, and
Yeah.
if you could hook us up for a guest.
We'll see. He's on his honeymoon right now, so he's not talking to anybody.
Oh yeah, not right now. So go ahead and bring up that the one you were going to tell us about, and
Well, just to a recent. This is most recent rocket painting. And,
I love it.
yeah, and here's another one recent, and So I've been doing these smaller sizes. They're available on my rocket painting site, rocketpaintings.com. Everybody, yeah.
Right there, rocketpaintings.com. We'll actually I added the last one as well, and we'll add this as to the chat because it becomes a clickable link.
Thank you so much
for our audience. All right, let me do that. And you actually have a couple more sites on here.
Okay, so one thing I didn't mention was early on, I did a college exchange program in Oxford, England, in the summer of '75, and I met Pauline Baynes, and she illustrated the Chronicles of Narnia, and her illustrations are still iconic in all the editions of that. Before that, she illustrated J.R.R. Tolkien's Smith of Wood and Mature, and then Farmer Giles of Ham. And he loved her, and they ended up being very good friends. And he introduced her to C.S. Lewis. But I loved her artwork. And so when I knew I was going to England, I got in touch with her and I said, "Can I come visit you?" Which was very cheeky. But I thought, why not? And she said, "Sure." And I had my, very simple drawings at that point. And I showed them to her and I said, "I want to be an illustrator." And she said, "You can do it. It's hard work. This is what you have to do, ABC." And she became a mentor of mine. And I just, thank you, Pauline. So cool. So that site is a tribute site that I do for her, with an old friend of mine whose aunt knew her. So we've got a couple. But anyway, and it's his template site and his design. I'm just putting the pictures in and everything. But it's great. She gets great response, more than I do.
Yeah, I actually went to the site the other day, and I'm like, we need to do a profile episode on her, I think.
She was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, great. And I recognize the number of the illustrations.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So then you got this other site here. What's that about? You just
yeah. Well, I like to write, don't we all? And I've written a few stories over time, and a few of them were published. And I concentrate on near future hard science solar system stories. So mainly it focuses on the moon, and my city is Big Head Moon at the North Pole of the moon. And it's from 100 to 200 to 300 years from now, and I'm just speculating on fun stories. And so that's it. But it's I'm not a totally professional, but it's competent stuff. I've been in publishing for a long time, so I know what writing is about.
Got it.
But so that's it. It's just another thing I do,
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, folks, what Peter has given us in terms of imagery and websites, and I've put every single one of those into the chat. Again, it'll be a clickable link for our audience and for people who see the show a little bit later on. A lot of people see the replays. Is there anything else you want to share with us? Well, we got you.
Yeah, I just keep pushing space. I mean, it seems to me what Gerard K. O'Neill said, what all those early guys said, is that we've got to be a multi-planet species, we have to be out there, whether it's colonies or planets or whatever. We have to have that. Heinlein said, once you're a multi-planet species, it's very hard to get rid of the species. One huge asteroid could get rid of us all at the moment. And let's get out there and colonize our solar system. Thank you very much.
All right. We do have a couple other segments, if you don't mind hanging around for a few minutes. Jeff, you're up.
Okay. Some stellar events this week, February 9th through February 16th. February 9th.
That's today.
It's the new moon. February 10th, the moon is at perigee, and Saturn and the moon are in conjunction. Also, it's the Lunar New Year, the year of the dragon. February 12th, the moon is on the equator. February 13th, the moon is at ascending node. And February 14th, Mars and Pluto are in conjunction, and it's Valentine's Day. Don't know what that says about Mars and Pluto being in conjunction, but hey. Also, it's Ash Wednesday. February 15th, Jupiter and the moon are in conjunction. Jupiter is 3.2 degrees south of the moon, so really close. And Uranus and the moon are in conjunction, which means that Jupiter and Uranus are in conjunction.
Yep.
Also, it's a great day to be born.
Yes.
It's both Pam's birthday and Galileo's birthday.
Galileo Galilei.
Nice.
Yep.
February 16th is next week's Friday night show, and we'll do something a little different, and more about that later. Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel. And it'll be the first quarter moon, and Pleiades is 0.6 degrees north of the moon, which means that the moon occults the Pleiades.
So what inspires you the most for this coming week? I've got some other events and activities. Of course, you can still launch your digital or hard copy postcard into space, and that is through Blue Origin Club for the Future. Maybe you'll send a Peter Thorp up there. Oh, we got a comment. Let's hear that from. So good.
So glad to see such an inspiring artist gets human space expansion. Thanks, Peter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are really glad you could be here.
And Jamie, thank you guys. Fabulous guest and beautiful art. Fun stories, inspiring.
Thanks, Jim.
I do have a couple of other things that I found, I think this past week mostly. Oops, I'm in the wrong place, but that's okay. We'll start with this because I just found it. You can go to this robotics show, which sounds really cool. I don't know where it is because, like I said, I just found it like 15 minutes before this show. So somewhere. I'll talk about it more later. I'm going to go over here because there's more eclipse viewing events. This one is in Massachusetts. There is another one. I really like this graphic in here. Oh, Scientific American. Okay, that's what this is. Because they show you the best cities, I guess. Because, of course, anywhere along the middle of this is going to be a good place to see the total solar eclipse on April the 8th, right? So that's pretty cool. Then there's Astronomers Without Borders have teamed up with this Startorialist Science and Fashion organization. I think some of the proceeds of the sales go to Astronomers Without Borders. And there's some of the things that you can buy. Oh, look, James Webb stuff. Cool. Let's see. Oh, another eclipse event. And this one, Delaware Historical Society. There's a lot of things on Eventbrite for the eclipse. And I just thought this was fun. There was a Facebook ad about this book, The Astro Chimps. And, you know, we don't really think too much about the animals they sent up in advance of the humans, but there were a lot of interesting experiments with the animals. And I really like this sort of, the kind of fringe of the mainstream stories. In fact, we just found one about the lunar eclipse. No, not the lunar eclipse, the Earthrise picture. That's a really neat. We might talk about that. We might talk about that later. Anyway, this is from Niagara Falls. I think I'm back to, nope. I really like this one. Let's see. Oh, get your solar glasses. And I'm going to say something in particular about this because I remember last time some of these were duplicated by some shysters. So, and I don't like that price. It's like, what for that? No. Most places might have some and you can get them for free. Look around, but do be careful. Do not get some too close to the time. The farther away, the better quality. And the deal is that I don't know a good way to determine if it is in fact the proper eyewear, but I can tell you when it's not. I think you need a lab to determine if it's proper, because I read an article about it years ago for my class, and if you can hold it up to a lamp on the inside, it's not going to hurt your eyes, and you can see through it or you can see any kind of pinpricks of light or anything, absolutely do not use it for an eclipse. You really want to protect yourself from the sun during an eclipse. The only time you can ever look at it with your naked eye, just, without a filter, is when it is a total eclipse and it's at totality. And that's usually runs 2 to 7 minutes. So yeah, the only time you want to look at it without some kind of filter is at total eclipse.
And anytime you're using a solar filter, even if it's a known good filter, it's because they can get damaged. Hold it between the sun and a piece of paper. If you see any bright spots on that paper, it's done. Don't use it.
Yeah, you just throw it away. There are some that are actually like kind of sunglasses, more, and they run about $20, and I think that's a good value because they're going to last a really long time. I actually got some organizations sent me a pair of glasses. Anyway, we got one more little bit.
Yep. If you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, February 16th. We're going to do a roundup of current space news, including finding Ingenuity, the NASA helicopter on Mars.
Yep. They have a good story. So that's kind of it for us. Anything else from you, Peter?
No, that's it. I enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much, guys.
We did too. Anything else, Jeff?
Nope.
And we will watch for your comments still. I think we showed everybody's. Janie and Daniel, thanks for being here. We saw Scott. We saw Dawn.
And
Cliff. Cliff was here. Yay. Cliff's the one who's going to be here at the end of March. So, all right. So, folks, have a really great week.
Yep.
And we'll see you next Friday.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.